welcome to Dinner for Three, a podcast about nothing. My name is Brad.
My name is Justin.
All right.
And welcome. So, basically, this is the first of hopefully many podcasts that we'll do. That will be entertaining to you, the viewer. And like I said in the intro, it's a podcast about nothing. Me, Raymond, and Justin have been friends for a while. But as time goes on, you separate from each other, and this is just a podcast about old times, new times, and plans of the future. So we're sitting down for dinner, and you're going to sit down for dinner with us, have a conversation. This is Dinner for Three. So guys, how's everyone going today?
Well, it's going pretty good. You know, it's the day before Halloween, so starting to see some odd things when you're walking down the street, driving down the street, whatever you're doing. I saw a guy, I dropped off our friend Aaron yesterday at home, and I was driving back and I saw a man in his yard dressed as the Pope.
What was he doing?
He was just standing there. He had his fingers laced, just standing in his yard with a big robe and the classic Pope hat on.
Really?
Very strange.
Huh. I guess that shouldn't surprise me that people can buy a costume dressed as the Pope.
Is that the strangest thing you've seen this season?
This season, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
This season?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any parties?
No. You know, I'm not much of a partier, so
Yeah.
I try to avoid big crowds if I can.
Yeah, I understand that. Ray, you went to a party here, didn't you?
I did, yeah. It was awful. We pulled up. I don't know if you heard it when you dropped me off, but there was a domestic thing.
Oh, yeah. Domestic dispute, right?
And we were there an hour, and it was still going when we left.
Really?
Yeah, we stood out and listened, and they were all drunk.
Okay. How many all? Whenever we dropped you
3.
off, there were 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
It was a guy and a girl yelling, and like I could have went straight, but because I'm a person, I decided to turn around, so I backed in and I turned around so I could, and we rolled down both of the car windows, and we rolled down. We drove by him slowly, just cause I guess I'm a nosy piece of crap. I don't know what it is, but I couldn't help it. And she said something so crazy that me and my wife both were like, dang. So he was like yelling at her, and I didn't catch what he said. But she said, if you don't knock this off, I will leave you. And by the end of it, I'll have your kids and my kids. Like it was intense. It was really intense.
She was not speaking like that by the time we left. So there were 2 women when we left. I guess it was her sister or something, because she was backing up everything she said. She was like, "You think I wanted your kids?" And then the other one was like, "Yeah, she didn't want your kids." And so they were just attacking this guy. And when we left, I heard him. I don't know. He was real drunk. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but he was like, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, "I don't want your effing kids. I'm going to leave you with yours and my kids." And so, it was...
So she changed her tune a little bit.
Yeah, I think they got more drunk and continued it.
Okay.
I don't know.
So at first she wanted both sets, and then she wanted none. Gosh.
I mean, the drunker you get, the more unstable you become.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, whenever we lived in the Lynx apartments, you lived there.
Yep.
Not in the same apartment. We heard some commotion every once in a while.
Oh yeah.
You have anything like that happen? Like any fights or anything?
Not necessarily any fights, but when it comes to living in a apartment complex, if you have the misfortune of being a downstairs.
Oh yeah, I was upstairs, thankfully.
You always have that person that's above you, and it sounds like there's a bowling alley in their apartment. I don't know why they don't have those bowling alleys in the downstairs apartments.
Yeah.
I think it's a little unfair because we pay the same rent.
Yeah.
But there's just always a rolling commotion coming from upstairs. every time. Every apartment I've ever lived in.
Yeah.
And I've
Did you
always
ever,
had
like,
the misfortune of being downstairs.
Did you ever like do the classic take your broomstick and like
No,
bang on
you
the-
see, I don't usually have to use a broomstick because I just go, shut up!
How many times do you do that? Do you do that?
This thing on.
Constantly.
You did it constantly?
Yeah.
Do you ever like? Okay, so I mean, you see them all the time. So after you yell "shut up" in that aggressive way, did you have any kind of interaction with them face to face?
Oh, yeah, plenty.
How was
As a
that?
very small woman, she probably weighed 100 pounds.
And you yelled at her like that.
I yelled at her constantly. But if I saw her outside, I'd be like, hey, how's it going?
Oh, man.
Oh, this is audio only. Describe your stature.
I'm about 6 foot tall, coming in about 300 pounds, so
Big burly beard.
big burly beard, so every now and then I intimidate a person or two.
Yeah.
Not intentionally, but that's just what comes with the territory.
Now, I don't know if you ever heard, Ray lived in apartments too. And he already knows the story I'm talking about. I don't know if you've heard this story or not before, Gut. But Ray has kind of an interesting story about living in an apartment complex.
Let's hear it, Ray.
We're 10 minutes in. You already want me to talk about hot mustard?
Hot mustard.
Oh, hot mustard.
So explain.
Ray.
For those of you who don't know Ray,
He's a picky piece of trash.
he's a picky eater. He definitely is a picky eater. And so, one thing he cannot stand is mustard of any kind. But what he really can't stand is spicy mustard. And so, with that in mind, he's got a story that he's gonna share with Justin.
It doesn't even start then. This neighbor was just the worst. So the first day we moved in, she worked for a call center, but she worked from home somehow. I don't know how she did, but she was just always at home and always peeking out the window when we walked by, because we lived at the end of the building on the second floor, so we had to walk by our apartment. And our first day, she gave us a box of dishes from the 1960s, like lead paint era dishes, I think.
All right.
So that's the type of neighbor she was.
Okay.
So she was a meth head, very obviously a meth head, because of the hours that we heard her banging around in her apartment. She would wake us up. And so one night, we were trying to move from there because that's a sketchy place. So we were moving, and we went to my buddy's house, and we were looking for places to get with him. And so we were driving around, and it was like maybe 1:30 or 2 in the morning when we were coming back. And so this was in a bad part of Fort Smith. So we go to McDonald's first, and we get some delicious chicken McNuggets, which, as much as I hate mustard, at the opposite end of the spectrum, that's how much I love those nuggets. So very dear to my heart. So we go into the apartment and everything, and so I go and I use the bathroom, and I come out, and my wife had just taken her hot mustard, and when you peel the cellophane or the top off of it, there's always sauce on it.
Yeah.
She just f***ing throws it on my fries and on my nuggets. And she doesn't tell me. Like, we're at home, she could have walked over to the trash can and thrown it in the trash. But she throws it in the bag where she didn't take my food out. So it's still in there. So I don't know that. So I go in there and I reach in there and I come out and there's just like the top is stuck to my hand and then there's just hot mustard all over my hand. And so I'm just looking at it and just go, "What's this? Why did you throw that in there?" And so I'm trying to, because I know it's late. I know we have neighbors. I'm trying to hold it together. I said, "The f*** is this? Why did you just throw this in here?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know." And she just does her spiel. And I go and I wash my hands. And I'm like, and I go back. And it's all over my nuggets. I didn't know it was all over my nuggets at this point. I go, "Why did you freaking do that shit?" And so it just starts an argument. We go back and forth, dude. And then I just hear, at 2 a.m., all right, in a terrible apartment. So I just go throw the door open. I go, "What do you want?" That's a little nicer. And she goes, "My phone's down. Can I use your phone?" And I said, no, you can't use my phone. And I closed the door because it's 2 a.m. I'm not going to let somebody use my phone. And so I go back over to my wife, and then it dawns on me. She thinks we were having a domestic dispute because I was yelling at her a lot. And she thinks we're like her.
Oh,
She's white.
we're like her.
White trash.
White trash meth head, huh?
Yeah, so that was not a good time. I did not finish my nuggets.
How many nuggets of that did you even eat?
It just ruined the experience. I didn't eat that night.
You went to bed with no dinner. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's
So-
vicious, Ray.
Yeah.
That's vicious.
I'm heated. I'm very sorry. I'm going to just try to calm down.
Yeah. This is as mad as he tends to get. So we all know each other from different times in our life. Obviously, you know, I didn't grow up here at the start. I moved here in high school, and then I met you, Justin. So Justin was my very first friend, Ray. I don't know if you knew that or not. Probably not.
I did not.
Probably not, but now you do. And so we lived so close together that he would come over to my house. Sometimes I would go over to his house. Sometimes, even when we didn't have a car, we could walk or ride.
I drove a 40cc scooter.
Yeah, and then I eventually had one of those as well. But Justin, you need to come over to my house before you even met my grandparents, who I was living with. And you had a kind of an interesting story about how you first met my grandpa that Ray's never heard, actually. I feel like I've heard every one of your guys' story. I know him, but the other one doesn't. So this is interesting.
All right, so
It's one of my favorites.
we're in the 7th grade. Brad's been here maybe a month. He's been in Arkansas for about a month at this point.
Okay.
And he has forced himself onto me as a friend.
Which he does.
Which he
I
does.
do that. And might I say, every time I force myself to be someone's friend, they are happy about it.
No. You force somebody else to be your friend.
Yeah, that's right. So,
in the long run, I was happy about it.
Yeah,
I wasn't happy about it to begin with.
But you were. Now you are, definitely.
Maybe one day we'll tell the story that surrounds all that. But I digress. So I go over to Brad's house for the first time. I pull in a trailer house,
On your scooter.
On my scooter. My Yamaha Zuma, I believe it was.
You always had, how fast did that thing go?
Topped out at 40 miles per hour.
Topped out at 40 miles per hour. He always wore a jacket and a helmet, just in case he wrecked.
Which I did wreck a few times.
Did you?
Yeah. But I was going over to Brad's house for the first time. Trailer house on, I think, 20 acres of land. 20 acres?
Yep.
Yeah, 20 acres of land in rural Arkansas. So I get off my scooter, pop it up on its kickstand. Brad comes out. He's like, "What's up, Justin? It's good to see you." I'm like, "Good to see you too." And in the distance, I see a man. It's as much as I could tell from that distance on a dirt bike. And I'm like, "Who is that, Brad?" And he's like, "Oh, that's my granddad." I'm like, "That's your granddad?" And this grandfather, in his 60s, let's say,
Yeah.
at least,
Yeah.
pops a wheelie on the dirt bike.
Yeah.
And then busts his ass on the ground.
Yeah.
Doing, I don't know.
How many rolls?
How many rolls, I don't know. And I just see this mop of gray, curly hair.
Yeah.
Just flying everywhere. And I'm like, "That's your granddad, huh?" I think he's dead.
He got up.
He got up. He was fine. I think he ripped his pants. Other than that, he was good.
Yeah. And then that's how, that's the very first time you met my grandpa. And you never looked back from then.
Never looked back. I spent many nights at Bradley's house. Many experiences. Many.
Yeah, and we'll
That's
talk
incredible.
all about all that stuff. Ray, how'd we meet?
You bullied me when I was in elementary school.
I guess I did. I didn't know, though.
No. I don't know how we really met. That was definitely how we met, but I don't know how we became friends.
Yeah. We became friends. Let's see. You started.
Maybe around when you were working at the chicken plant before you left for Japan.
Okay.
Maybe then's when it started, but more when you got back, I think.
Yeah. So we started to become friends but right before I went to Japan, and then we weren't really good friends. But then when I came back, we started hanging out a lot more, and so now we're really good friends, and hopefully we'll keep being good friends. So what's going on now that we've kind of catched everyone up on how we've met? What's going on this week? Today is Sunday, which a lot of people consider the first day of the week. I don't know if we do or not. Maybe we do. Maybe I do. I don't know. So if you do, what happened last week that maybe we don't know about?
Well, I mean, last week was filled with normal work week type things. Going into work, going home, sleeping, eating dinner, things like that.
Okay.
I don't know if there was a whole lot of excitement last week.
Yeah, there was not much going on.
There wasn't much going on.
Wasn't much going on? No stories, guys.
I've watched a mechanic fall asleep while he was working on a tractor.
Okay. So what do you do, Ray?
I work for the water and street department in this town.
Okay.
Yep.
And what's that consist of?
I'm mowing weed eat most of the time.
Yep.
And it's October, so the grass doesn't grow. So I don't know why I still have a job. So I basically this week I supervised a mechanic fixing our tractor.
And you say he fell asleep?
He did fall asleep, yeah.
For how long?
Probably 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
And I just didn't say anything because I needed a nap, man.
What'd you do? He just needed a nap.
I was sitting there anyway.
And his job was to observe. He was observing the nap.
I didn't change a thing.
Did he snore?
No, he didn't. He was like just sitting there, kind of looking at what to do next, and then he just kind of goes like that. It just slowly chin to chest. That was my week.
And what'd you do while he slept?
Just what I was doing before.
You just watched him?
Well, no, I wasn't watching him. I was on my phone.
Oh, okay.
No, that was it. That was my week. That's my job.
Okay, cool. So Ray sits around and watches people sleep. That's good. Gut?
Well, I know what you wanted me to tell. Mm-hmm. All right, so I work in a call center. I won't say what call center because that could have indicative effects on me.
I'll tell you later.
But I take supervisor calls throughout the day, which in turn means I get cussed at multiple times a day. Mm. And so on Friday, I believe it was Friday, I was talking to a gentleman who was asking for a refund, and I told him, "I'm sorry, sir, we can't give you a refund for this." And to end the call, he said, "Well, you're a cracker." And then he proceeded to hang up the phone.
Now, what ethnicity was this man? Because I've heard this story. Many times. I've never heard what he was.
I don't want to be one to judge.
Don't tell me you don't hear color.
When you work in a call center, you'd be surprised. But I'm going to guess that he was a man of color. I don't know why another white man would call me a cracker bitch.
Every time I hear that story, I think that was a white man. I just desperately want, and sometimes I even picture a white female.
He had a very deep voice.
Well, you never know. You never know. You ever is that the worst that you've ever been called?
No, that's one of the more interesting ones.
Alright, what's the worst thing you've been called?
I got called a baby rapist once.
What? Oh, are you kidding me?
No. So,
Was that at this job?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
This is the only call center I've worked at.
Oh
so-
my
I thought you like
gosh.
refilling sandwiches.
Oh gosh. I mean, just like.
Goodness
What if it
gracious.
wasn't at work? Colin, we didn't even ask him. Was it at work?
It was definitely at work.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh. What if it
alright.
wasn't at work? He was just like walking into Whole Foods or something, and someone just called him a baby. That's
Yeah,
terrible.
it was almost every story that I'll have when it comes from my job and interacting with somebody. It's always going to be because I wouldn't give them a refund for something. And a woman this time did call me a baby rapist, and she hopes I die.
Oh man.
So,
Yeah,
you know,
there's still time for
That
that.
sounds like a white woman to me.
she might have been.
She might have been.
She was very
So
rude.
explain. It was like, no, you can't have a refund, and she just said, "I am baby rapist. Hope you go and die." Or how was
I
it?
mean, basically, of course, she is a little more upset than that.
Yeah.
She was screaming.
Now, by the time a call gets to you, it's already has to be escalated to you, right?
Yeah, someone
Somebody's
would have already
been
had
talking.
Yeah.
to say they want to speak to someone else.
Oh shoot.
And then that's when I come in and get verbally abused for a few hours a day.
Now I work in a call center type of place too. It's not really a call center, but I do have to deal with people on the phone constantly, and so sometimes they want to speak to someone else, like a manager, and we'll just give them to someone else on the team who's not a manager at all.
And I've heard of that going on in a lot of call centers. Obviously, yours is one that does do that. We do actually have escalated teams to handle those types of calls. And
Yeah, that's what we do.
That's
We
what I
send it to someone who's that's their responsibility.
Yeah.
Not just.
What's
I'm
the
just-
worst you've been called?
Oh. I think I've been fortunate enough not to have been called anything other than a crook or a thief or
man.
or just like incompetent. Just like how I'm stupid or something. Because what I do is I call people to pay up on stuff that they owe. And so a lot of times you get dodged calls or people swear that they've already sent stuff or so luckily I've been fortunate not to be called
See,
a
I
baby
think
rapist
I
or
think
anything
I
like
was
that.
more fortunate in the way that my very first day on the phones when I was still in training, I got told to go myself. So
Yeah.
I was well prepared for the rest of my time
Okay.
in a call center environment. So
Yeah, for sure. That
Heck
is
yeah.
crazy. Call center environments are nuts. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you, like at a job
Oh, at this job.
or any job?
Okay. Well, at this job, there was, it wasn't me. It was my boss, but it was right before I started. A small part of our job is shutting people's water off when they don't pay the bill.
Yeah.
And so he gets out and he goes over to their meter and everything, and he's shutting their water off. And this really redneck dude walks out of the house. And he's like asking him what he's doing. My boss is like, well, you didn't pay your bill, like we're shutting you off. And he goes, y'all motherfuckers just like Hitler, ain't you? And he just walks in the house, and that was the exchange. And he's like, since that day, my boss has carried a pistol every day.
Really?
Yep.
That's crazy. I wonder, what that guy thinks Hitler is.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not loading people up and
I
taking
mean,
them to
that's-
a gas chamber or turning your water off for not
That's some
paying.
good ideas, man.
Yeah. I think, okay, so we live in a very small, low-income town, and so a lot of times things are said and punishments aren't dealt out. So a lot of people think that they can just get away with whatever,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So that's crazy.
Now, just to give you a better image of the kind of town me and Raymond and Brad grew up in, me and Brad did graduate together in high school, and we graduated with 20 people. Our graduation took less than an hour, and
Yep.
we all hung out, and
What year was that?
it was 2010.
See, I graduated in 13, and we had 15 people.
Man, it just kept getting smaller.
Yep.
I talked to people from the town I work in. It's a bigger city, at least by Arkansas standards.
Yeah.
And they all talk about graduating with 200, 300 people. I'm like, yeah, that's the whole population of the entire school that we came from.
Yeah. For sure. It's crazy. There was, okay. So, you were telling me about a crazy story that happened just in this little small town with an old drunk person and the cops. You remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember that. That dude's still in jail.
Really?
It's been like 3 weeks, yep. So I don't, I work pretty closely with our chief of police in town, and he was telling me about this 75 or older guy, and he got drunk, and his neighbor's dog was barking, and dude just shoots it. Just shoots the dog right in the head. So the owners call the police and everything. They say he's got a gun, he's drunk and belligerent. So they bring out 4 or 5 cops, because after the Cooper incident, they don't want another thing like that. And so they bring out 4 or 5 cops, and he won't put the gun down. He's not pointing it at them, but he won't put it down. He's just kind of got it at his side, brandishing it. And so they just leave. It's like a 2-hour standoff, and they just leave. And so they come back 2 days later with a 12-person SWAT team, and they go and surround his house and take him. And before they take him to jail, they take him into the mayor's office just to meet with the mayor to talk about it.
Why?
Because that's how this town is.
Okay.
So that's like probably the most exciting thing that's happened this year in this town.
This year in this town, yeah.
Take him to have a conversation with the mayor, huh?
Yep. They let him drive to the city hall too.
What? The old man?
Yep. Because his truck was still there.
So they let a drunk...
No, he wasn't drunk because this was 2 days later.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So, yeah, because his truck was still sitting at City Hall until yesterday. Or Friday, I mean. It was still sitting there.
Huh. Yeah, this is a bizarro land that we live in.
It is a sitcom town.
It really is.
It's not real.
It's not a real place. And I think a lot of us, we didn't know that when we were growing up.
No, there's definitely...
It wasn't like this, was it?
It was. It definitely
It probably was, and then we just didn't know.
It definitely was. You don't see things for what they are while you still live in the town, or even if you don't live in the town, if you're in...
Well, especially we all lived not in town. None of us lived in town.
Right.
So
we were just here every single day.
Yeah.
And when you're here every single day, you don't see things the way someone on the outside would see them.
Yeah, and honestly, where we lived, where our actual houses were, was not much better. There was just
I
less
would not
people.
call it better.
No.
No.
It's just the same, and there was just less people.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
And now, whenever you leave the town for a while, like Brad was gone for over a year.
Oh yeah.
And I've moved about 30 miles or 30 minutes away from.
Yeah, he moved to a new town.
So when you see the town from a distance and you see like what's going on the town's Facebook page, you're like, what the hell's wrong with all these people?
Grown adults.
Grown adults.
Grown adults, man.
Complaining about the smallest thing on the town's Facebook page.
A town like this, it's very much like a welfare town.
Oh,
like a
yes.
large portion of the town, they don't have jobs. That's all they have to do is sit on Facebook and bitch about stuff.
Yep.
The town has one gas station, so that place employs 3 people tops, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got a post office that employs probably 3 people tops.
Well, I think only one.
Maybe just one.
Yeah, and then is it 2?
Yeah, they have the postmaster, and then they have the
okay.
people.
And let's be honest, that is barely a job because they're only open until noon every single day.
Yeah.
They're only open till noon. I've never heard of it.
The actual city, we have 4 employees.
Yeah.
We have 4 employees that work every day.
Full time, or is that full time, half time?
Everything.
So we have the mayor, we have the recorder,
now
my boss, the sheriff, and me, and I'm not full time.
The mayor, from what I understand, is also not a full-time position.
Maybe. I think he gets... No, I don't think he's full time.
I think he is full time, but the position is a part time job. I don't know why I called it half time. Like
you did 2 times. Trying not to get very angry.
Yeah, maybe there's Okay, because the librarian works 2 days a week, so there's like 3 part-time and then 3 full-time.
What's crazy about this town is we have everything that like a normal everyday town would have, except for a restaurant. This place can't sustain a restaurant ever.
No,
People have tried.
There's been probably since I was a young child in kindergarten or so. There's probably been 12 different restaurants in 3 different locations in the town, and none of them have lasted more than a year or 2 tops.
Yeah.
Now my wife has lived here her whole life, and I wonder if just growing up here you start to notice stuff and not even having to leave. Just as you get older, you start to realize, that's a little weird about stuff. But this town, it has all the things that you would think a normal town would have. We have a gas station, we have a bank, we have
mechanic
shops, we have a school,
Yeah.
we have all the things that a normal smaller town would have, and then we have something even bigger. We have a mine shaft or whatever.
We have an operating coal mine.
Yeah, we have an operating coal mine, and so that should do a lot for the town. But a lot of people just don't want things to change around here. So, I mean, it could be better than it is, but I think at this point people just like it the way it is. And what it is just a strange, small, not very productive.
Gut made a great
town.
analogy the other night about this town and a town in a book you read.
Yeah, so this town, from growing up, I loved this town. It was home to me, obviously, and it's just I'm a very passionate person when it comes to something I care about. So I take it very seriously whenever someone would say something derogatory about the town I grew up in. But like I said, once I left the town and I saw it from an outsider looking in, to me the town reminds me of Derry, Maine from Stephen King's It. The way they describe it, the town of Derry in the book is it's a low, sunken-in city. You can tell the depression of the city just by looking at it. And if you drive downtown in our town here, you can see the same type of things. Roofs caved in on old businesses, the tops of buildings just completely gone. Foundations of buildings is all that's left of some of them, like for the restaurant that burned down when we were all in high school. And you look at it and you can tell this town just has a deep history of negative things happening in it. You can go back into the history of the town and you can see where at one time, I believe in the 20s, there was a coal miner strike that led to gunfire in the 20s.
Yeah.
Which things like that are very common. Strange things are very common in this town. A hotel burning down. Having a movie theater at one time, that burning down. I mean, things catch fire here very easily.
Oh, yeah.
That. But
yeah. It's
very strange the way this
materials
town just negative things are just drawn to this town.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that a lot of times towns like that, most people say that it's never going to change and they lose hope. And how do you get out? How do you fix a town like that? Well, you just move away. And some people are like that, but this town for some reason is a little special because there's people who grew up in the town, knew and know or realizing that the town is not what they hoped or expected it to be whenever they were younger growing up, but still care enough about it to just like move back. So like I moved back, Ray has moved back, and we've have our families with us and have these goals to like help it. So there's something about this town. It's unique. It needs a lot of help, but it's unique. So cool. Well, we're pushing 30 minutes here, a little past. Some might be a little longer, some might be a little shorter. But I think roughly this will be about as long as our dinners will usually be. Is there anything else that we want to talk about before?
Now, speaking of what we're doing here, we want you, our audience, to be able to enjoy these products that we're going to put out. So if you have any suggestions on things that you'd like to see or things that you think would improve the quality of our product, be sure to let us know in any way you can. If we post this to YouTube or onto Facebook, anything like that, drop a comment on what you think. That way we know how to improve our products, and we'd greatly appreciate that.
Yep, and this is the first of many things, so bear with us, grow with us, see with us, eat with us. Thanks for listening to us, giving us a try, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Check, please.